Hey guys, Ripper Gamer here with another Sims 4 CAS collection for you guys. Last time I made everybody's best friend Finn Balor and the man Becky Lynch. And today I'm doing another WWE related CAS collection video today. Today I am making The Shield. I am making Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns ahead of Fastlane with this weekend. So by the time this goes up, it'll be just in time for Fastlane, and I figured this is the perfect time to make The Shield because they are now back together. So I'm starting off with making Dean Ambrose. And Dean Ambrose, he is a pretty cool guy. He's the lunatic fringe. He's a bit crazy, and he's kind of someone who you look at them and you realize that he looks kind of different when he's got short hair and a beard and long hair and no beard. But he's also hilarious judging from some of his stuff from 2016 when he was back on SmackDown, and he's actually a pretty good guy. I'm actually designing him based on his recent heel look that he had for the last few months, where he won Intercontinental Championship, then he lost that to Bobby Lashley, and he had this whole kind of, I call it the Bane Ambrose, because he tried to do this whole Bane thing with the gas masks and the coat, and it was weird. It was weird, but it was actually not the worst thing they've done with Dean Ambrose. I think it was okay. I feel like they could have maybe done a little bit more with his heel turn. I feel like there was more they could have done with it. But now that he's kind of turning face again, they might have an opportunity to do more with him. Maybe not leave him kind of off to the sides, because I feel like he had a bit of a bad run, bit of a bad booking, but he was really good as a heel. I feel like they could have done a lot more with him as the lunatic fringe, but I guess they just decide not to. But making Dean Ambrose, he is not the tough guy to design, thankfully. He does have to, once again, designing noses and side profiles, always something you gotta do to make sure that you get the look just right, going down, getting the chin right. He's got a kind of I'd say a longish face, and he does have quite short hair in his current look, so that's going to be the look I'm going for, just designing the eyes to make them look quite right. His forehead kind of comes forward a little bit, but not too much, and he's kind of got a straightish nose. Some of the side profiles are a bit hard to find for some wrestlers, especially for when they get them, when you're looking for photographs, and you get some side profiles, but not a lot of face-on ones as well. And I'm going through skin details here, but I kind of go against the grain on skin details, and I don't add it back until much later on, because skin details are pretty hard to go with early on when it comes to designing Sims, and I prefer trying to maybe do it after, because then it helps, mold into the look a little bit better. So designing Dean Ambrose, I was having trouble with the hairs, because there's not a lot of short CC hairs. There's lots of really stylized ones, but there's not really any sort of, I guess you could call it buzz cut styles. There's a lot more short ones, but I did find him a decent piece of facial hair, because he's got quite light facial hair, which is quite a noticeable thing. When he actually looks good with and without facial hair, but when he doesn't have facial hair, he looks way younger than he does with facial hair. But I guess that happens to a lot of blokes, where they kind of look, a facial hair can kind of change just how drastically different your perceived age would be. That hair I was kind of thinking of, because it's also kind of Auburnish, but I just couldn't find a decent one, so I ended up going with Maxis hair for him, because that was actually the closest thing I could get to make it look like his current hairstyle. And that's the problem with some of when it comes to making custom content hair and trying to look for custom content hair. There's not a lot of short options. There's always really stylized short back and sides, and the hair on top and the shave size, but there's not really anything that's kind of really short hair on top. And I think the Maxis match, that one I was going to go with, but I decided that is not the one we're going for. I ended up going with what I think is from the Cats and Dogs expansion, and it's actually a pretty good hairstyle. Yeah, that one actually suits him really well, which was pretty good. And then I think I did end up going with custom content eyes as well, just working on the chin a little bit more there, so it's just looking perfect, because Dean Ambrose is quite he's kind of got a roundish face. He's got kind of roundish facial features. And then we're going for some decent blue eyes there, because I'm hoping he's got blue eyes. Otherwise, I've just made a very grave error there, and getting rid of all these silly little accessories, because he doesn't have all these kind of accessories. And then going for some outfits. And, okay, so the Stranger Things jacket looks so much like the jacket that he wears, just minus all the patches. But it works so well in there, and I'm so glad that jacket is in the game, because it's just such a nice design. Sure, Max's kind of clothing is kind of odd when you compare it against loads of CC kind of clothing, which is a little more realistic, but that jacket is just brilliant, and it works really well and actually lines up with the jeans quite well. So I'm really happy that this jacket is in the game and I had it for Dean Ambrose, and it looks like pretty decent. And then going for some basic formal wear. Basic formal wear, bit harder to do because like you got to wear like kind of suits and stuff if you're doing I'd say if you're doing interviews. A lot of them seem to wear. Maybe if you're in a manager role, you tend to wear the suit and jackets, like Triple H, for example. He does a lot of that. His activewear is based on one of his older lunatic fringe outfits. He would wear like the wife beater, the ripped up jeans, kind of crazy looking, which isn't actually a bad outfit. And then I think I went with another jacket for his. I went with that jacket and some jeans for his party look. Pretty decent, and then it's just very simple as well. And then going through, okay, I don't know why when CC, or when Maxis, randomizes the clothing outfits for Sims when they're being generated, and it just looks super weird, but that basic, hot weather outfit, cold weather outfit, I think I made it basically his regular outfit, because I think I've seen, it looks quite well, and I forgot that he for some reason had earrings on. So it's just get rid of those because you don't need earrings. But Dean Ambrose is looking pretty good. I made him want to be a public enemy due to his recent heel turn, and made him a hothead because he's the lunatic fringe. He's also erratic, and also I think I made him active as well. So it's a pretty decent personality for him, and he looks pretty good. I'm actually pleased with how decent he looks. Although I feel bad that I didn't spend as much time on him as I did the other two. So now I'm moving on to making Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins, he is great. He is super great. I follow his Instagram. He posts some good stuff in there. Loves coffee, and I kind of want to visit his I want to visit his coffee shop in Davenport, and I also want to attend his wrestling academy at some point because I'm training my body. I'm getting stronger. I've got muscles on my arms now. And also I found CC body hair, which I'm super proud that I was able to find this, because Seth Rollins has got a lot of body hair on him, and it's one of those things that if it wouldn't be him without it, just wouldn't look right on his sim. So I was super happy to find this sort of body hair, which had the treasure trail on the chest there, and also gave him a pretty decent spine tattoo, because he's got a spinal tattoo. His actual tattoo has Japanese symbols on it, but no, there wasn't anything close to that out there in the CC world, which kind of sucked. So I kind of wish there was something similar, but you roll with the punches. You take what you get when it comes to Sims 4 CC and just Sims 4 in general. You kind of have to take liberties essentially. But working on him, I had some good pictures to be able to focus on his facial details, because he's got some really strong features. A lot of them though are covered by his facial hair, so his jawline and chin I wasn't too familiar with, so I was a bit worried on how that was going to come out and how it would make him look overall. But I did find a really good close-up of his eyes and the top of his face, so I was able to get much better detail on the eyes and the eyebrows and make that look a little more realistic. It also gave me a perfect insight into what color his eyes are. They are a lovely brown color, and that worked as well. I also had trouble finding a good CC hair for him, which was a bit of a problem, which I'll come to when we get to there. So working on his facial features, I didn't have too much of a problem with the eyes and the forehead. That was actually quite fine. And working on the brow line to see where it comes out, it was more the nose that I ended up having trouble with, because I love this detail mode that The Sims 4 gave us, because it means that we get to have a little more liberty and able to make just put those finer details into perspective on Sims, so they just look a little more nuanced and realistic. But I was having trouble doing his nose here, because he's got quite a curve on the bridge, and I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to be able to get the curve right when it comes to detail mode, because sometimes it makes a bit of a weird sort of bend, I guess, in the curve. So I was trying to just make sure that his nose looked exactly right, because I think reading up on him, I think he's part Armenian, which I think is where some of his facial features were coming from that I was trying to work with. Also, because the facial hair, I was a bit worried on the size of his mouth and his lips, but I know they were because the top lip's covered by the facial hair, so it's a bit hard to work on that. But I was happy with how he turned out in the end, and I worked quite hard. I think I spent at least an hour making this whole video in the end, because you gotta take your time doing the details, and I feel maybe with Finn Balor and Becky Lynch I didn't do as much detail on them, but I did work hard to try and get their facial features just right, which is You know, what you want to do when you're making Sims, and you got to make sure, especially when you're making Sims based off of real people, you got to make sure that they look exactly right. When it comes to like when I was doing my Yuri and Ice ones, that one's a little bit harder because I was going from a stylized design, anime design, so it was a bit harder to work with. But when it comes to real people, there's actually maybe like it's a little bit harder because you've got to try and get the features exactly right, but you do realize what you've got to work with because you've got to figure out lighting and shadows and like contouring, especially if they got high cheekbones or not. That's always something that I've always found that you've had to kind of really understand. And if you want to get like someone's facial features right, you've got to like sort of look at different profiles of their face and work from like not just like the side or the front, but also from like specific angles as well to get it just right. And I think he's actually coming along pretty well so far. Working with the ears, they had to be make them smaller, but also make them stick out just a little bit. I kind of have the same thing with my ears, where they're quite small, but they stick out quite a bit. So I don't like to tie my hair up because then my ears stick out and they look like a little trophy. And nobody wants to look like a little trophy. I did change the skin color again to make it look right. And again, I was debating with CC skin tones, but I do end up leaving the skin tones and then going back to it because I feel like, you know, doing it like right at the beginning when you've got like nothing else to work with, it's a little bit difficult. But once you've got hair and sort of makeup, not so much. But when you've got like the hair and accessories all sort of sorted out, then you can sort of figure out where CC skin tone is going to come in. And that hair works. It's just the little tiny knot, like top knot there, that doesn't really work for it because he's got quite long hair, not as long as Roman Reigns, but he's got quite long hair, and he does like tie it up into a bun. If you're on the Black and Brave Instagram and you see Man Bun Monday, which is a great little photograph, they do some good ones, and like that hairstyle looks quite good, but it's tied back and once again the little top knot, so which is just not right. But there is a hairstyle I end up going with, and I can't remember which modder it is. I think it's Wings. Yeah, I think that's is it Wings? I can't remember. Either way, it was one that worked really well, and I've used it before on a similar sim, and it works really well. It's not as long as I'm expecting or what I'm hoping it could be, but any of the longer hairs just didn't work for some reason, so I had to kind of go with the shorter hair. I would love to have found a two-tone black and blonde hairstyle, because that would have gone perfect for when if I was designing Seth Rollins based off his heel day when he was Money in the Bank and he betrayed the Shield, and he had like this weird like blonde half of his hair, and I was debating the Maxis hairstyle, but I went back to the CC because the CC one looked a lot better, a bit more realistic. Like Dean Ambrose having the Maxis hair works well and actually suits him pretty well, but I felt like when it came to Seth Rollins, I had to use the Alpha CC hairs, and it looks like pretty good. It works quite well on him. And then of course got to give him facial hair, and he's got quite a big like beard, so I kind of had to. I was looking through all the Praline and the Maxis beards to see which ones worked, and I think it was a Praline Sims beard I went with. I think that one. Yeah, that one. It looks really good. I feel like it needs to be just a tiny bit bigger or like longer, because these hairs are kind of, I guess beard hairs are a little bit harder to do, because if they look too big it doesn't look right, but then if they just look like stubble then it's just a bit weird. And of course going through the eye colours to get ones, I think, which ones did I end up going with? I think I went with 155 again, because I was looking through some of them, and some of them were quite good, but there was too like, it was like too dark in terms of like the eye colour. So these ones are actually pretty good, these Praline 155 eye colours, because there's a lot to choose from. The brown light ones look really well, but unfortunately, like for some reason with the Dean Ambrose one, they was able to apply to all of them, so I could run through it, but for some reason I had to apply it all individually for Seth Rollins' sim, which was a bit hard. But you can see he's coming into his own now, and it's starting to look a little more like him. And gave him a Slipknot t-shirt, because he is from the state of Iowa, where Slipknot is from, and I am a huge fan of Slipknot, and I have myself a little Slipknot tattoo on my forearm, and when I gather, I think Seth Rollins is also a Slipknot fan, because, you know, if you're from the same state as one of the biggest metal bands out there, you probably would have heard them. And then going through the rest of his outfits, I don't know why I debated giving him one of those formal outfits, but going for his workout outfit, because I follow him on Instagram, I see a lot of his workout pictures, and follow his Black and Brave Academy Instagram as well. You see him on there. he's shirtless for a lot of his workout exercises, so I kind of had to reflect on what he would look like when he was working out. So all their athletic kind of outfits all vary on the situation, I found. So I think I just went with a pair of shorts and a pair of trainers for it, but I was kind of debating, like, do I need a t-shirt? Do I need to give him a t-shirt? What kind of t-shirt do I give him? None of these seemed to look right. That was the problem I was having, because it feels like you need to wear a shirt when you're working out. At least in The Sims, if they're not wearing a shirt when they're working out, it's a little bit weird, or like a vest kind of top. So I ended up like going through this, just like, is this gonna work? This is not gonna work, because that doesn't look right when I was looking at it. Like the Lana Del Rey t-shirt would have worked maybe, but that one didn't work. The Beast Mode, I feel like that's more a Brock Lesnar vest. But I ended up going with the jeans, not the jeans, the shorts and the trainers, and it works pretty well. And I wish I kept the bunny pajamas on him, because that would have been funny. But went simple. And what did I give him for his formal outfit again? It's been a while since I recorded. Made them, so I think I just went with something pretty basic in the end, or something maybe based off one of his pictures that I'd seen. I think I was going for like the jumper, like the hoodie and the jumper. Like the hoodie and the t-shirt worked in the jeans, but then when I was looking at it, I felt like it made him kind of look like a homeless dude a little bit, so had to switch that up a bit, switch up the jeans and switch up the jeans. Like, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad. He got that CrossFit Jesus look down pat, as the joke goes. At least I think it's a joke. There's t-shirts on the Black and Brave website that say CrossFit Jesus on them with a picture of Seth Rollins. And I'm assuming that's because the long hair and the beard and stuff, and he has a Jesus-y look about him, but maybe not. And then simple hot weather outfit, pretty good. I love that body hair. So you see, I'm so glad I've got that. I might use that on a lot more of my male Sims in the future, because, like, you know, it's kind of weird how some of the male Sims are all smooth-skinned and look like they shave every single day. Because some people just don't. Like, some people are just more naturally hairier, I guess. And, like, when it comes to body hair, like, I don't know where I'm going with this. Oh yeah, I did give him the man bun to go with the cold weather look, just so it's tucked under the hat. Based on, I think, a recent video I watched where he was talking about his coffee shop. And he had, like, it was a much bigger beanie, but they don't really have, like, those really big beanies in The Sims 4, so that was, like, the closest thing he got. But then I give him the praline honey skin details. Is it honey? I went with, the honey one. That actually looks super good on him. Switching over them to see the different eyelid designs, but he looks super good. Like, the body hair works, it looks a lot more realistic. The tattoo on the back, I'm pretty happy about. So Seth Rollins, he is a dog lover because he's got this cute tiny little Yorkie named Kevin. I made him a bro as well because he seems pretty bro, and I think I gave him active as well, and gave him the master mixologist because there's no aspirations to do with coffee, which is a damn shame. Sims, you gotta get on there and make more aspirations and more traits, because I feel like there's not enough to work with. And then finally we are making Roman Reigns. Now, like, I love Seth Rollins. I think he's great. I love, like, watching his Instagram stories and stuff and seeing all the different coffees he does. But Roman Reigns is my favorite dude. He is my favorite guy, even though when I started watching wrestling, I wasn't that into seeing him fight. I was just like, it's just like, this guy's not interesting. But then I watched the house show last year, and I was like, wait, this guy is actually pretty cool. And, you know, I missed him when he was off getting his treatment for cancer. I feel like when he left, Raw just did not know what to do with themselves. So I've made Roman pretty strong. He's a very strong, muscular dude, and I found CC of his tattoo, which I'm super chuffed about because that tattoo is absolutely gorgeous. And they even managed to get the little turtle, sea turtle, on his wrist that you can't normally see because it's covered by his armbands. So I was super pleased about that. Once again, trying to get the nose right. I hate designing noses in The Sims 4. That's just a whole thing. But, you know, I'm super chuffed to see Roman Reigns back on WWE. Super happy to see him getting back into the fighting spirit. He kicked cancer's ass, or leukemia's ass rather specifically, and now he's back to kick some ass at Fastlane. But then again, you know, it all depends on what WWE are going to do with him and what the writing team are going to do with him, because Like, everyone is very worried currently because we got Seth Rollins going for the Universal Championship against Brock Lesnar, the Potato Man. You guys all know how I feel about the Potato Man if you've seen many of my other videos talking about wrestling and Brock Lesnar and how much I hate the Potato Man. So, we're a little bit worried that Vince McMahon, like he's done with Becky Lynch and Kofi Kingston, is going to walk out and be like, Seth, you're not going to get this title match. I've changed my mind. You've won it, you've earned it, but now I'm gonna go with this guy instead. But that would be the worst thing to happen, really. So everyone's kind of worried about what Vince McMahon and the whole team at WWE are gonna do, because it's the whole thing. When things change and get switched up, some people can be either really happy or really angry, and a lot of the fans are pretty pissed off right now considering some of the decisions behind the team. But getting back to this, designing Roman Reigns, he was actually a lot harder to do because he's got such defined features. I spent a lot more time on Roman and Seth than I did Dean, which I kind of feel bad about. I feel like I should have put more time into Dean Ambrose, but Dean Ambrose doesn't look bad all considered. But doing Roman Reigns, phrasing, was actually a bit harder to do because I had a bunch of pictures of him, side profiles and front facing ones. Of course, he does kind of scowl in some of those pictures, so it's a bit harder to get a neutral picture. But it was just kind of a lot harder to do, especially because he's got such defined features from his Samoan genetics, and if you've seen the Samoan Inoue family, you will know that the genes in that family are super strong. Seriously, I've seen a picture of a whole bunch of them, and it's just wow. You got The Rock on one side of the bloodline, and then you got the Usos, Rikishi, Sika, Roman, late brother Rosie, God rest his soul, and on the other side, and you can see the Inoue side of the family, their genes are strong as hell, and you can you can see that they're all related. I didn't even know The Rock and Roman Reigns were considered cousins at all. I thought they were from different families until I looked up, and it's that their grandfathers are blood brothers, I believe is the term. There's some sort of thing that makes you family. I'm not entirely sure. And I also found out what the word "us" means, which means brother. So that is pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. Uso, big Us. Yeah. Uso is brother or something. I think that's what it means. So it means the Usos tag team are just called the brothers, which is a bit odd. But you can see now, going back to this, that the genetics or the designs are coming in pretty well. So I'm just trying to get the design just right, sort of working on the chin, working on the cheekbones. He does have cheekbones, they're quite defined, but they're not too pronounced, so to speak. So trying to get the jawline and the chin right was a bit tricky. I found the forehead and the eyes and the nose, that was coming along a little bit easier, just working on those cheekbones there, trying to get them right, because they're not too pronounced and high, but they're not non-existent as well. So they're there, but it just depends on how much of them are there. And then going into skin details, I think I gave him skin details better because I knew what I could work with, but I can't remember which one I ended up giving him in the end. That is a new one, but I don't know what if I'm going to be able to use it more. Oh yeah, then I gave him the hair. The man bun hair is perfect for him, and I also managed to find a beard recently as well. That worked as well. So he's looking a little more like Roman Reigns here with the facial hair and the man bun. The man bun is great, by the way. There was this hair I downloaded, which was originally a Stealthic hair, but it's a retexture for men. And it looks good. He looks a little bit more like Jason Momoa with that hair, so if I make Jason Momoa at some point, I've got some hair I can use, which is a good thing. And he's looking a little more like Roman Reigns now, which I'm pretty pleased about, because I put a lot of work into him. And once again, trying to get that nose right, because goddamn, I hate designing noses in The Sims, because they either you either do it wrong from one angle, and then it just looks bad all around. But you can see, he's a little more Roman Reigns-y when you look at him. So, which I'm pretty chuffed about. And, of course, I gave him brown eyes, but I didn't give him the same ones as the other two. I gave him very different ones. I think it was praline number 55. I have a lot of praline eyes, and I feel like I'm never going to use most of them, but I downloaded all of them anyway. So they're pretty good. Those ones were pretty good. But yeah, number 55 were the ones, because they actually had a lot more, not depth, but they looked a lot better and a little more realistic for Roman, which I'm pretty chuffed about, because like when it comes to designing things like the CC things like eyes and skin tones, they can really shake up the whole sim when you're making them, which I'm pretty pleased about, because I feel like there's like, it's not that Maxis is limiting, but I feel like when it comes to designing real people in the Sims, like trying to make myself, for example, is a bit tricky, because I've got well, if I have the right things, it's just more I don't have the right hairstyle or the right I'd say the right eye color. There are like more realistic looking eyes and skin tones can really help like make the Sims look more real, although it does kind of make everything else look a bit cartoonish in retrospect. But that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It differentiates between, you know, ones that are generated in game and then ones that are, you know, designed by you in Create a Sim. Yeah. Viox works really well on him. They like makes him look super like realistic. And then once again, the hair, like I was having trouble with this hair because the hair works, but I don't think it was working on Roman. The man bun was actually a lot better to work with, because he does wear man buns and they do, like, he suits the man bun, he rocks it quite well, but the long hair, maybe it was just there was too much volume in that particular style, because his hair doesn't really look that big and kind of floofy like in reality, because like when wrestlers go out, a lot of them, I think if they got longer hair, they like spray them with like a water bottle so they're all wet for some reason. I don't actually know how it works backstage, but you know, I'm assuming they like tie their hair up, get it wet just so it can probably so it doesn't get in the way. Maybe it's just how they do it, at least for the men. For the women, not so much. The women kind of get away with their hair being long and, you know, nicely styled and defined. You know, if you're Mandy Rose, for example. Although you will get dragged up by your hair, which I guess is the only downside to being a women wrestler, is that you will get dragged off by your hair, which, you know, I'd be very concerned about, because I like my hair, and I would hate to have someone try and pick me up by my hair before they decide to go and knock me over. But going through the clothing, not too bad. I think I used that one already. That I don't know what like the game was thinking when it gave him that active outfit, so I just went and gave him a plain black vest and shorts, as I'd seen in some photographs of him training. So, you know, something nice and basic. And then pajamas, yeah. You know, when it comes to everything else, active and daily and like your everyday wear is something you kind of got to focus on. But it's more of a, that's just, and then everything else you can kind of take liberties with. But I ended up going with, that puffy jacket and t-shirt combo, because it shows off the tattoo nicely, but it also doesn't look too bad on him, especially in that color combo, the nice dark red. And it didn't look too bad, changing up the swimwear just so it looks familiar. I could have given him the tropical shorts, but I didn't in the end. And giving him that Strangerville vest. It actually looks pretty good. I'm actually glad that was also a part of the game. And then cold weather outfit, I actually tried to design it based off a video when he was at the Georgia Tech football game against what other college was playing, they were playing against. So, you know, it doesn't look too bad. And I also gave him the beanie as well, because he did wear a beanie in that picture as well. And then, of course, when he posted that video, everyone was like, oh, it's so good to see him. So good to see him doing well. So he doesn't look too bad. And once again, I'm in love with that tattoo. I'm in love with that tattoo. It's absolutely gorgeous. And, like, for the CC, it's actually designed pretty well and looks pretty accurate to his actual tattoo. And then again, still trying to decide with the hair. But the man bun just looks so much better. Maybe I could go back into it and give him the longer hair another day, but for now, the man bun is much better. And then I gave him the big happy family aspiration, because he's got a huge family. He's family orientated, because I've seen how much he loves his daughter. Like, he talks about her in interviews, so he's just like, oh, like, you know. And I think I did give him active like the other two. I gave him romantic, because I just had no idea. And I changed up his voice as well, because his voice is actually a lot deeper than the other two. And that is Roman Reigns. And I've made the Shield, and I am actually super chuffed with how they all turned out. Like, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, I did, like, super proud of how they came out. I'm proud of how Dean came out as well, and I ended up giving him a overlay skin here. I think I gave him Viox as well because that's a good overlay, and it actually looked pretty good on him. So they look really good, and I'm pleased with how they turned out, and they are on the gallery. I did upload them, and I did have to switch through this so Dean was not taking up the whole picture, but once again he is taking up the whole picture. But they are now on the gallery for you guys to download, and if you like them and you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.